first person that came to my head was, I've got to get Roy Bookbinder up here as soon as I can. And he's here, actually. Well, he's halfway here. He's having a rest on the way out. Big out, please. Big Nova Scotia welcome. Roy Bookbinder.
I haven't been across the pond for many years because of the fear of flying with guitars. A fellow in Switzerland that has beat the system, as we said. Get my guitar out here. Size isn't everything. That's the end of the first set. Hear that okay? Great quality of floor singers here in, where are we? Bristol. First came to England 37 years ago. Got off the plane and called up a friend I had met in New York City named Joanne Kelly.
Yeah.
The greatest blues singers I'd ever known in my life.
Mm-hmm.
She was in New York recording, and she said, if you're ever in England, ring us up. Her and her boyfriend, manager Chris. One day I got off the plane at Heathrow and rang him up. He said, where are you? I said, Heathrow. So I said, oh. Oh dear. So we're on our way to Belgium on tour. We're leaving within the hour. Joanne was quite freaked out by it, so she put Chris on the phone, and Chris gave me directions, and I scurried over to their flat. They were loading up the mini estate wagon. They said, we take you with us, but there's no room because Dave Kelly and his wife were going on the trip as well. So Chris, the manager, handed me the melody maker. He said, I circled all the nightclubs in London. Go introduce yourself. Here's a box of shillings. If you need heat in the night, you put a shilling in this box. If you decide you're going to take a bath, you put a shilling in that box. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Off they went. I was still in my 20s, so I was able to deal with things like that. Next day I went down to Dovell's record store at 77 Charing Cross Road. Mr. Dovell had a tape of me, and he had a record company, and I thought maybe he'd put out a record. I didn't have any albums out at the time. I recorded one song for Blue Goose Records, and I went in there and introduced myself to Mr. Dovell, who I had corresponded with. That used to mean writing letters on a piece of paper and putting a stamp on it. I was under 30. Mr. Dovell said, there's Ron Watts from the National Blues Federation. Called him in and said, this is Roy Bookbinder. He records for Nick Pearl's Blue Goose record label. That one song. Ron said, whoa. He says, what are you doing tomorrow? I said, I don't know. He said, you could open up a show with the 100 Club For Arthur Big Boy Crudup, who wrote That's All Right Mama. Pay you 15 pounds. Sounds good to me. Got on the bus to go back to Mitcham where Joey and Kelly lived, and I saw a big sign on the bus that said, "Be a London City bus driver. Earn up to 100 pounds a week." Earn 15 pounds a week. 15, I just had Irish whiskey. I'm a little bit out of it. I know one's my limit though, so don't worry. The show's gonna get underway pretty soon and we'll be good. So I figured I was doing pretty good. I was earning a bus driver's wage already. About 6 years ago, me and my new wife, she's not that new anymore, we were on tour celebrating the 30th anniversary of my first arrival in London, and we were going to a gig in London, and we were sitting on the same bus. And there was a big sign up that said, "Earn up to 400 pounds a week." You're a London City bus driver. Looked like the same sign. I said to my wife, my new wife, I said, "How much am I making tonight?" She said, 400 pounds. So I'm still a bus driver. She said, "You're working 3 times this week, honey." I said, "I guess I'm a star." It's always great to come back to England. Let's see, here's a good little tune. Run and get you one gal, better get you 2. One for your buddy, one for you. I got a wife and I got a sweetheart too. I hope my wife don't want me when my sweetheart do. You better rag mama. Ooh, you better rag mama. Rag mama. I said, "Come on girl, let's do that rag." I'm going uptown with my hat in my hand, looking for a woman that got a man that's like looking for a needle in the sand. Come on baby, do that rag. You better rag mama. You better rag mama. Ooh, rag mama. You know there's 2 old ladies laying in the sand. One said, "Mama, wish you was a man." "Look here, girl, stop raising sand. Turn it over, I'll do the best I can. You better rag mama. Rag mama. You better rag mama. I said, "Come on, baby, let's do that rag." Dog eat dog and cat eat mouse. Rag pretty mama all over this house. Come on and shake that thing. If you don't play, you surely can't win. You better rag mama. You better rag mama. Rag mama, I said, "Come on and do that rag." 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready. Go cat, go, come on and shake that thing. If you don't play, you surely can't win. You better rag mama. Ooh, rag mama. I said, "You better rag mama." It was the night before Christmas and all through the house, not a creature stirred, not a single mouse. Out in the yard, there was a great big crash. With a Santa Claus falling on his big fat. I said, "Rag mama." Ooh, rag mama. Rag mama. You better come on, baby, and do that rag. I said, "Come on, mama." Rag mama. Time for another one. This here is an old blues song that I co-wrote with a great harmonica player named Jazz Gillum. Jazz Gillum recorded this song, I believe, in 1937. I wrote my part after he died. Jazz Gillum played the harmonica, and it was a pretty good song, except there was a little too much harmonica on it. I only wrote 1 verse. first thing I did was eliminated the harmonica part. And I wrote a few more verses, and I really like this song. Mostly do songs by dead people, that way you don't have to pay anybody. Chas Gillen wished he could be here. Baby, I'm crazy about you, but I don't like the way you do. How can you mistreat me so and say you love me too? Someday you want me, but I'll be so far from you. Well, I've given you all of my money, bought you a diamond ring. Now you got yourself a backdoor man, like I don't mean a thing. Someday you'll need me, but I'll be so far away. Then you'll be sorry, girl, you treat me that way. Yeah. Now I've been to Kalamazoo, Memphis and Frisco too. Ain't no town in this big wide world that I ain't been traveling through. Met a lot of women, none of them could take your place. Ooh, now I'm coming back to you just to see your smiling face. I said, baby, I'm crazy about you, but I don't like the way you do. How can you mistreat me so and say you love me too? Someday you'll want me, but I'll be so far from you. Then you'll be sorry, girl, you treat me like you do. Yeah. Very much appreciate it. To do this song, I wrote a couple of years ago. This is one, everybody kind of knows my story. I lived in a little tour bus for 24 years with my first two wives, crisscrossing across America, not at the same time. Mine's different. That started during the America's bicentennial year, 1976, celebrating our freedom from you people. I thought that'd be a cool thing to do, tour the country and live in a bus. After the first 2 years, I gave up my apartment in Greenwich Village and I gave up, all I had was a post office box in Florida and one in California. And I lived in the bus for 24 years. Well, I met my new wife. My new wife, Nancy, just left to go back home. First time I ever had a wife that had a house in Florida. And she also had a job. That's a folk singer's dream right there. Love at first sight. I saw that house, I said, darling, I love you. She's actually the sister-in-law of my dear friend Rock Bottom, who played harmonica all over the world for many years. He died about 6 years ago. And I spent 3 winters after I got divorced the last time, parked in his driveway with my motorhome. I had an electrical cord running out of their bedroom to keep the battery up and stuff. And then one day they woke up and I was gone. And they were wondering what happened to me. And well, I moved down to the sister-in-law's house and then I moved in and we got married. And that's the story of my life. So I go home in the winter now. That's a weird thing, living in a house again. I get home around December 3rd, and I stay there now until the end of April, and that's a big adjustment, but I still get to go out on the road in my little tour bus for 7 months a year, which is kind of nice. It's really good for a marriage. This is the St. Pete blues. Sometimes after 4 months being back home, I get the St. Pete blues. That's where our house is, in St. Pete, Florida. Hear this okay way in the back?
Yeah.
Good, because I can't turn it up. Get your ups and you get your downs. That's what it takes to make a full go around. I said, hey, hey, baby, mama girl, you ain't so much, you know. Ooh, I'm going back down to St. Pete. I'm gonna leave all this rain, sleet, cold, and snow. Papa told mama how it's gonna be. Mama said, Papa, you just wait and see. Ooh, I said, hey, baby, you ain't so much, you know. Ooh, you know where I'm going. I'm going back down south to leave all this doggone rain, sleet, cold, and snow. And the St. Pete blues. Said, don't look back, mama, you might not like what you see. Oh, you're scheming and you're dreaming, never said you're sorry, that's free. I said, hey, baby, mama, you ain't so much, you know. I'm going back down south, leave all this rain, sleet, cold, and snow. Yes, you get your ups, get you down. That's what it takes to make a full go around. Hey, hey, baby, you ain't so much, you know. You know where I'm going. That's right, I'm going back to leave all this rain, sleet, cold, and snow. Save all your sorrows. You might need one of them someday. Before you move your lips, stop and think what you're about to say. Baby, you ain't so much, you know. That's right, I'm going back down to St. Pete, and I'm gonna leave all this rain, sleet, cold, and snow. Get your ups, get your downs. That's what it takes. Make a fool go around. Hey, baby, you ain't so much, you know. That's right, I'm going back down to St. Pete and leave all this rain, sleet, cold, and snow.
Yeah.
It's an old time song by Luke George. Luke George recorded in the 20s. Made 378 RPM records. I recorded 5 of them, 5 or 6 songs. I like Luke George. He was from Virginia. He was really a great poet of the blues. I'm so glad that the law got passed. You know these uptown women got to mow their own grass. Won't you be kind to your kitchen, I mean your dining room, sweep out your pantry. Won't you be kind? Keep your backyard clean. If it's worth a beefsteak and a dime's worth a lard, I said, come on, baby, you know this doggone thing is. Won't you be kind to your kitchen? I mean your dining room, sweep out your pantry. Won't you be kind? Keep your backyard clean. She was cooking like rolls. Won't you be kind to your kitchen? I mean your dining room, sweep out your pantry. Mama, won't you be kind? Keep your backyard clean. I'll give that gal $1 just to look at her grin. Won't you be kind to your kitchen? I mean your dining room, sweep out your pantry. Mama, won't you be kind? Keep your backyard clean. Yes, I'm so glad the law got passed. Uptown women got to mow their own grass. Won't you be kind to your kitchen? I mean your dining room, sweep out your pantry. Keep your backyard clean. Something to think about on this drive home. Old Luke Jordan. Turn the right one. One thing about these guitar tuners, if you turn the wrong one, it doesn't work. Back in the day, I used to have plug my guitar in, and I had a tuner on the floor. Who could see that for anymore? How these old rock and rollers do it. How they do it, because somebody else tuning their guitars for them.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, I was on tour with Bonnie Raitt, and I'd do my little opening act, and then I'd be downstairs in the green room. In between songs, she had 6 guitars on this stage. The guitar tech would be running down, tuning up another one for open G tuning, run back up with us. And man, she got it made. Way back in 1965, I just got out of the United States Navy. 3 years terrorizing Mediterranean villages. Last tour on the continent. Every night in Italy, I apologized for being the teenager in the bell-bottom trousers. Didn't understand the damn word I said, but I was sleeping better. I heard a fellow playing the guitar at the Folklore Center in New York City, on 6th Avenue, upstairs from the old Waverly movie theater. And this cat could really play a guitar. I asked him if he could show me a few things. He said no. But he was very good, and I kept listening. He put his guitar away. He handed me a matchbook with a phone number on it. Axtel 17609. I asked him whose number that was. He said that was Reverend Gary Davis's phone number. I'd heard about Reverend Gary Davis. Legendary blind blues man came to New York to make blues records in 1935 with his buddy Blind Boy Fuller. Gary Davis made one blues record, and then he got religion in New York City. Big city, he'll do that this summer. Recorded a handful of Christian songs and ended up singing on the streets in New York until about 1960 when the big folk music scare hit. folk music was happening. Peter, Paul, and Mary recorded the song about Samson and Delilah. They heard Gary Davis singing on 135th Street. The record sold 2.5 million copies. Being good folk singers, they told their manager and their publisher that Gary Davis should get some of the money out of everybody. So they sent for Reverend Davis, who was singing on 130th Street that day. He was in the office there with Peter, Paul, and Mary and all the lawyers and the publishers and all them kind of highbrow people. And they asked Reverend Davis if he wrote the song about Samson and Delilah. And he said he didn't write any songs. And lawyers started to grin and poke each other in the side. You know how lawyers are. Probably got some here tonight. We're still grinning and poking. Peter, Paul, and Mary pointed at that contract. Put Reverend Davis's name down, and he put his mark down and counted out $500 for the blind preacher. That was a heck of a deal. Record kept selling, folk music kept growing. Reverend Davis started getting checks in the mail pretty regular. He ended up building a house in Long Island. We still lovingly referred to as the house that Peter, Paul, and Mary built. Phone number on my bureau for about 2 weeks. I was a little shy to go see him. I was growing. I was 22 years old or so. But you get shy sometimes. Finally called him up and asked if he could teach me some tricks on a guitar. I said, "You got any money?" I asked him how much I need. He said the guitar lesson was $5. The government was giving me $100 a month to go to college on the GI Bill, they called it. I got the money. I said, "When do you want to come over?" I was still nervous. I said, "Maybe a week from Thursday." He said, "I'm an old man." I said, "Well, he said, you better come and get it while it's here, son." I said, "When might be good?" He said, "Now." I got directions. It's a real long story, and I don't want to eat up all my time telling it to you, but I ended up at Reverend Davis's house. He said, "What can you play on the guitar?" Played him some of the Candyman blues, a song that was associated with him. He said, "Good God Almighty, it sounds like Dave Van Ronk." Best thing anybody had ever said about my playing. I lost Dave Van Ronk. Reverend Davis didn't like the way Dave Van Ronk changed the tune around. We spent the next 6 hours trying to unlearn my best songs. I only knew 3. I didn't want to change it. Ended up neither of them liked the way I played it, but they're both dead, and here I am. Do anything in this God Almighty world to keep that Candyman on. Big leg Ida. Big leg Ida. Ooh, big leg Ida. Big leg Ida. I sure do love that big leg gal. Ooh, God knows I do. Went to Reverend Davis's house twice. He told me not to come by for 3 weeks because he was going on a tour. He had his own manager and folk music agency working for him. Folklore Productions in Boston, Massachusetts. They managed some fine folk singers. They had one barefoot girl went by the name of Joan Baez, and they had Doc Watson and Dave Van Ronk, Taj Mahal. I told Reverend Davis that I had $50 saved up. I could go on a tour with him. He laughed at me and said $50 wouldn't get me very far. But as I was leaving the house that day, he told me to bring my $50 and be there at 6:30 the next day. It was only because Reverend Davis's music tickled my ear and ruined my life that I'm here in the first place. I could have been a retired postal worker by now. The song kind of tells the story of Reverend Gary Davis. Not too long ago, this song was recorded by the great guitar player Jorma Kaukonen, the Jefferson Airplane and Hot Tuna. Very exciting for me, like I told the new wife. I paved the driveway this year. Time I hear Jorma on the radio, I get excited. I'm going story about a man I once knew. You know he was a blind street singing preacher that played some blues. And his fingers picked the guitar. They danced up and down the board. And past his days he was just singing, waiting for the Lord. Now the people heard his message and they came from miles around. You know this pulpit was on the streets up in Harlem, and sometimes way downtown. And the preacher picked the guitar. His hands made magic chords. Past his days he was just singing. He was waiting for the Lord. Angels heard him sing and thought he should be heard. They opened the ears around the world so he could spread the word. And his fingers picked the guitar. They danced up and down the board. Past his days he was just singing, waiting on the Lord. To London and to France. Ooh, he was thanking Jesus every day for giving him that chance. The preacher picked the guitar. That's right, his hands made magic chords. He passed his days just singing, waiting on the Lord. His time had come. He knew where he was going and where he had just come from. The preacher picked the guitar, hands made magic chords. Passed his days just singing, waiting on the Lord. But I told you a story about a man I once knew. He was a blind street singing preacher that played some blues. Picked the guitar, they danced up and down the board. Past his days just singing, waiting on the Lord.
Yeah!
Sitting in the hospital, holding his hand, and he was just a shadow of his old self. He was he was a short guy, kind of stout. He was all skinny and withdrawn. He didn't have his teeth in, didn't have his sunglasses on. And I was holding his hand, and I said to him, you know, Reverend Davis, besides the music, all of my friends I met through you. He said, I know. Then he said, don't forget to tell Mother Davis, Mrs. Davis. I never told that priest I was going to take all my money when I was going to build a church on 135th Street. He knew the vultures would come, and they did. But Mrs. Davis did pretty good. She lasted to be Reverend Davis passed away May 5th, 1972. Seemed like yesterday. And Mrs. Davis died in 99, I think. She was 103. A great lady. I used to send her postcards as I traveled around the world and visit with her when I could once a year. And she was sharp as a tack right to the end. She asked, she said, you remember that time we were driving to that gig in Saratoga Springs, New York, and the window wouldn't go up in the car and it was snowing out? And we stopped at the Denny's for a sandwich. And Reverend Davis said the bacon was no good. I said, oh yeah, I remember that. We got there. Oh, that's good. She said, would you get me a drink of water from the refrigerator? So I went in there and she had some of my postcards on the refrigerator with magnets, how we do. I mostly sent her pictures of churches because she was a churchy lady. We never played no blues at Mrs. Davis's house. But Like Reverend Davis used to say, when you're on the road, you're on the road. A lot more fun when she wasn't on the road, sweet as she was. So I got to the refrigerator to get the water, and she had some of my postcards on the refrigerator. She had a little country church in Rome, Georgia, next to the big one from Rome, Italy. She had Paris, Texas, next to Paris, France. I thought about that for a long time driving home that night. I thought to myself, she probably thinks I've been preaching for the last 36 years on the road. It's all we sang was the front of a Christian song. This is a song I made up in Reverend Davis' style that she especially liked. I never felt very comfortable singing Reverend Davis' Christian songs. They're a little too heavy. The man sang about his impending death for 50 years, you know? This is me singing about my impending death. There's a lot of Reverend Davis' chords in there. If my road is rocky and my journey's rough, if I stumble and I fall, I'm gonna pick myself up, keep marching forward, and I'm gonna drive these old blues away. I've been a gambling man, I've been a cheat, and I sometimes I lost my way. Gonna pick myself up, keep marching forward, and I'm gonna drive these old blues away. Said yes, I'm going home. Yes, I'm going home. I'm going home someday. Temptation cast aside, won't take no devil ride. I'm going home someday. And the wind is blowing hard, rain is coming down, and I can't keep myself warm. But I'm gonna keep on searching for better days and a sheltered port from this storm. And yes, I'm going home. Yes, I'm going home. I'm going home someday. Temptation cast aside, won't take no devil ride. I'm going home someday. I'm gonna see my mother. I'm gonna see my father. I'm gonna see my baby brother too. When I get there, I won't have to worry, because I know just what to do. Said yes, I'm going home. Yes, I'm going home. Sometimes people say to me, "Don't you get tired of doing the show after all these years?" It hasn't changed that much. I told them no. I said, every night I get to tell the story of my adventure. It brings back all the memories, and that's what life's all about, your memories. And I'm very fortunate to have an audience that will listen to them. Thank you all for, there's something about playing the big rooms. You really don't have as much fun playing in bigger venues. I play some. This last 2 weeks ago, before I came here, I was playing B.B. King's nightclub in Times Square, New York City. Come up from the subway train, left my little tour bus out at my mama's. She lives in a retirement village, we'll call it. And left it there, took the train in, a little travel guitar, come up from the subway, right there on the marquee. Said the Tommy Castro Band. Right under it, it said Roy Bookbinder in the same size letters, and I had more letters than him, so I thought. Picture of that and sent it home to Mama. My mom was 93 years old, great fan of music. She was a little worried when I ran off with Reverend Davis. A little worried before that when I ran off to the Navy. My brothers brought her to a gig in New York last Thanksgiving, and everybody made a big fuss over her. And it was all over. The next day we took her out for breakfast, and she said, "You really got good." Nothing like approval from your mom. A little song I wrote for my first wife, may she rest in peace in Biloxi, Mississippi, with a new husband. I don't know what album this is on. I only brought one album here, the latest one. It's called Live at the Fur Peace Station. Fur Peace Station is the concert hall at the Fur Peace Ranch. Where's that? It's down the road to Fur Peace. That's your McCalkin's guitar camp where we gather and have 40 students and 4 teachers and a gourmet chef and cabins in the woods, and we have a big time there. I do it 3 long weekends a year, and they do it more than that. You can visit them on their website. So we were talking about websites. My new wife, like I said, she's not that new anymore, but she got me working on computers and stuff. When I met her, I just got my first toaster oven in the tour bus, and that's she got me Wi-Fi from Motel 8 parking lots for free. I love it. It's fantastic. I'm talking on the cell phone, check my emails. Drives me nuts. It's good. So this album is live at the Fur Peace Ranch, and there's 8 songs on that live album that I never recorded before. A lot of old hits from the olden days that I didn't record. It's a couple of new songs I wrote. This one, I don't think this is on there. This is on Singer-Songwriter Blues Man, which is on Peg Leg Records. That's my own record label. I used to record with a big-time Rounder record company until I realized one day I was telling the bride, I said, "You realize those people make $100 a year off of me?" She says, "Is that so?" I said, "Good luck." We started Peg Leg Records down there in St. Pete, Florida. Our motto at Peg Leg, of course, is we walk our own damn way. People ask me how I came up with Peg Leg Records. Well, I crossed my heart and hoped to die. I knew 3 peg-legged dancers. Ain't many of them left. Today you could be on welfare, even in the States, to get a prosthesis thing. This is the New Age Woman Blues. She don't drink, she don't smoke.
Yeah, comes in
She's
waves.
fool with dope, but watch out, the girls got them New Age ways. If her tarot cards didn't tell her everything, she'd throw a coin and she'd ask each Ching. No need to talk with me, she had him. She knows I don't have no maps of stars and moons or a Chinese guru up in my room. Ain't got no tea leaves in my cup to guide my way. She got crystal balls, she's got tea leaves too, and said the gypsy always knew when it was time to stay or time to leave. She said your moon is rising, your sun's going down. A girl, check my chart if I left town before I met that gal. I wonder how I ever got around. Stars didn't have no maps of stars and moons or a Chinese. Didn't have no tea leaves in my cup to guide my way. Tells a little girl what to do when I fly the coop. She knows where I flew. So I guess I better let that girl go. She got too many friends that I don't know. I wish I knew back then what I now know. But I still ain't got no maps on stars and moons or a Chinese guru up in my. I got no tea leaves in my cup to guide my way. She don't drink, she don't smoke, I don't believe she ever. Watch out. She's got the New Age way. Yeah. Ooh, watch out. She's got the New Age way. Yeah, watch out, buddy. She's got the New Age way. tunes would make it break. It's hot in here. It's cold outside. What weather you having in with? It's been great. I've been here for 10 days and the sun's been out. I had to put sunscreen on the other day in Jersey. Down in Florida, we never go out in the sun. We're afraid of it. I was scared to death without the sun. We never go to the beach. Get jellyfish and sharks and tourists. All the time we go home though, we have to go back to Florida for Christmas. There's nothing like Christmas with palm trees. Feel like you went somewhere. Greatest guitar player in the Mississippi Delta back in the 20s was a guy nobody ever heard about. His name was Hacksaw Harney. And Hacksaw Harney, he made a few records backing up female singers, him and his brother, Pet and Cam. And they were phenomenal guitar players, but Hacksaw had a speech impediment. He didn't sing too good. Didn't talk too good either. To meet Hacksaw Harney in 1970 was a fluky thing. He stayed at my house for 2 days. I was living with a great guitar player kid named Woody Mann. He's toured the UK many times. Remember the days? Living on 10th Street in the East Village. Hacksaw came to stay with us for a few days, and he did a show and he recorded for Delphi Records, but the tape got screwed up. The tape machine had a big buzz in it. It was a waste, and he died shortly after that. And 25 years after they made the tape, they learned how to take the buzzes and hums out of tapes. That record came out. It's on the Delphi Records .com, I suppose. Hacksaw Harney, a brilliant record. And he laughs on the record, and he was amazing. He said he was the most phenomenal guitar player we'd ever heard. He was in Reverend Davis's class, do those spirituals. And he laughed and said he hadn't played a guitar in 26 years. He had a little business down the Delta. I got his business card hanging up my fridge still. It says Hacksaw Harney, sewing machine repairs and piano tuning. I play a simple little number that he did. A little dance tune. Some great changes. I just call this Hacksaw. for 10 left. They're 10 pounds. And like I always used to say, smuggle them into your country, I used to smuggle them out. Yeah! Fucking brilliant!
Roy Bookbinder! Don't forget, CDs for sale in the village shop up here.